My name is Shannon Williams, and I'm with Isthmus Wellness. And today we have Nicole. Nicole is one of our lead PEMF providers as well as our office manager. So if you have been to see us in person and notice how beautiful the office looks and how much more organized we are, you can thank this lady right here.
Okay.
Thanks for chatting.
Yes.
So last year, I guess I'll just share the story of how the PEMF came to be for real in our clinic. My son tore his ACL on a turf field, non-contact injury, it was gone. So through that surgery and kind of repairing, I was, I'm in the wellness field, I'm an acupuncturist, so I'm looking like, what else? There's got to be more here that we can do post-surgery to speed this along and help him get back on the field. And so I was into all these different wormholes and, but, I felt like acupuncture works well. We know massage works well. So that's not in question, but it's like, what else can we do to really help with that joint and help speed up recovery? And so that's where I found the PEMF, so the pulsed electromagnetic field. And through that research, and then I also had another guy on the team who specializes in pain and also felt like, I want to deliver more for my patients in pain. A lot of people, whatever people want to do is up to them, but a lot of people don't want to take the meds. They might not want injections, and so what can we bring to the table that's going to get people the results that they're looking for without taking more medications? And so in comes the PEMF. Mm-hmm. We contacted the woman. She came down. We saw the research. We heard the stories, and we're like, let's do this. This is something that's missing. And if we can get our clients here already feeling even better, quicker, then it's a no-brainer for us. So Nicole is kind of on the front lines with the PEMF. She's likely who you'll see the first time, but I'd love just from your experience, because I know you're a retired acupuncturist.
Yes, I am.
Also a retired massage therapist. Mm-hmm. So we know firsthand that you've been in the rooms with people. We know you see how the acupuncture massage works. What's been different in your experience with the PEMF device? Like, how has it been showing up differently as far as results go?
That is a great question, Shandon. And the way that I kind of describe it to our clients when they come in, that this is sort of the third leg of the stool, or like an additional provider that we have. And it's been interesting because for a lot of our people, and even from my own experience through acupuncture massage, I was able to get to feeling good, but there was that little extra that I was looking for that I just kind of thought that my body wasn't able to get there. And I gotten to the point where, like, for me, it was tennis elbow. And being an acupuncturist, I'd worked on it and it was good, but then it would come back, and then I'd treat it and it would come back. And so PEMF is the thing that finally got me from that kind of yo-yo to being pain-free. So to me, it's that extra something, or that cherry on the sundae that people are looking for from a health perspective, that just really kind of moves the needle when maybe they thought that the needle had gotten as far as it was going to get.
I like that. Yeah. And I guess I'm curious, and we'll get into, okay, how does it work? What exactly is it? But from your perspective, like, in an anonymous way, I'd love for you to just share a story with, like, when you were running it and you're taking people through the course of treatment and stuff, like, when was the first time you felt surprised? Like, oh, wow, like, we're really on to something here.
Well, there's been many, right? Yeah. But the first one that stood out to me was a gentleman who'd come in for low back pain. He'd had a surgery on his low back. He was a very active person, running athlete, but just always had pain. So he thought, I'll just give this a try, see, what the difference is. And after his first session, he got up and was kind of like, I guess I feel a little looser. This feels kind of good. But then when he came back in for his next session, he had said that he couldn't believe that normally the small little thing when he's in his car getting in and out of the car, his back would hurt, and or even driving out the driveway, that the little jostling of the car would make his back hurt. And he said after his first session, he said, I didn't have any pain getting in my car when I left, and just driving out of the drive, he said, I noticed, wait, my back didn't hurt after that first session. And he'd also said in that week after, he was able to run for a longer distance, and he'd taken time off of whatever his, usual time for his run was. And we were, excited and kind of both in disbelief of like, that was after just one session. And so to me, that's when I got really excited about what was possible with PEMF.
I love that. So, so it sounds like, he responded really well. So what have you seen the people that maybe do it a few times and it takes a little bit of a cumulative effort? Like, can you kind of share from that side of things?
Yes. So we had another gal who had arthritic knees. And she was limited in her range of motion and was limiting her activity. And so with PEMF, we recommend starting with what we call our Jumpstart package, which is 3 sessions within the first 7 to 10 days to give the body that really big healing boost that it needs to kind of start the process. And I always tell clients, you may feel something after your first session. You may not feel anything after your first 2 to 3. That's normal. It just depends on how your body responds. And for this particular woman, it was her, after her 6th session, she said something just clicked. And after that 6th session, she was out for a walk. And she said normally she could get about 1 mile and then her knees would start to hurt so bad that she would just have to stop. And she said, I was walking and didn't realize that I had walked so much farther than I normally would. And so she was so excited to come in for her next session to share that it was like finally like it clicked. And then from there on out, it's just continued to get better and better. But she said her range of motion has really increased. She said, I have more range of motion in my knee than I've had in years and years and years. And that her pain is reduced and she's able to be more active and go on longer walks, which that just affects every aspect of your life.
Definitely. I guess I'll be selfish for a second. And I feel like I was one of those people, like the first time I went, like I felt really tired, I'm just curious, like afterward, like what does that mean when like the first time or second time you get it? If you feel tired or if you feel a little like worse, like what do you think that's about?
Well, in those types of situations, every body is different. Everyone's going to respond in a way that's unique to them and what their situation is. But when you're laying on the PEMF, you're getting this electromagnetic current that's running through the table and it's charging every single cell of the body. It's like the little battery is getting plugged in and getting charged up. So for individuals who are feeling maybe a little tired afterwards, it's kind of like if you've maybe gone and had a really big workout and afterwards you feel just a little bit fatigued or like you can tell like I had a big workout. The body is getting a workout, but it's at the cellular level, not in the physical big motions and movements that you're used to. So in those types of situations, it to me says like, maybe we can keep you at a 30-minute session initially versus doing the 60-minute session, because the first time you go to the gym, if you do a 60-minute workout, you might feel different than if you sort of just ease into it and start with a 30-minute workout or 30-minute session. That's what that says to me.
Got it. So more diagnostic than anything.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I think the big question, like, what is PEMF? How does it work? I mean, I'm an acupuncturist and herbalist, so I believe in the power of like frequency medicine and sound and how all these things can come together. But I know PEMF is like kind of the godfather or some of that stuff. So How would you describe it to me, just like off the street? Like, what is PEMF? Like, walk me through kind of what it is and what happens when I come see you.
So in the simplest of terms, PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, there's a machine that we have that creates an electromagnetic current that mimics the frequency of the earth. And nowadays, many people are familiar with grounding and the value of having your feet on the earth and how our body then connects with that frequency, and it helps with reducing inflammation. Things have been shown, and just charging the body in general. So it's sort of mimicking that same type of frequency that you get from feet on the ground.
Yeah.
And so when you lay on the table, every single cell of your body is uptaking this current, and it is charging the little tiny batteries inside your cells. And then when the body has that proper charge, then it can increase the cell turnover and cell repair. So you're just giving your body what it needs to do what it wants to do, which is heal and repair. But with modern lifestyles and with food choices, dehydration, larger amounts of stress, or maybe if you're a less active person, that voltage of the cell will diminish over time. So we're just, increasing that voltage so the body can do what it wants to do.
I like that. All right. And then I guess the next thing that comes to my mind is prep. Like, do I need to make sure I've eaten? Like, what do I wear? What do I do afterward? Like, can I go do my normal activity?
Yeah. So if you want, I can just kind of walk you through what a session looks like when you come into Isthmus. And for your first time, you and I will sit down and chat and kind of talk about what you've been experiencing with your therapist. With a lot of our people, they're working with either an acupuncturist, massage therapist. So we'll chat about what they're working on, what their focus area is. We'll talk through the machine and how it works, and then we will get you set up. So you have options of just laying on the table if you're wanting to get a big boost. So if you're just feeling like a little rundown or getting over a cold, or maybe just want to increase energy, or you have kind of all over pain, just laying on the table and taking the pulse in will be wonderful. But somebody like, for instance, your son who had an injury in the knee, we have different accessories, and we can take that current and focus it directly on the area that you're really wanting to focus the recovery or pain reduction with. You lay just comfortable clothing and you lay on the table, and it's either a 30-minute session or a 60-minute session. And then afterwards, because PEMF helps to reduce inflammation, I would recommend to people to maybe not do their workout after or go on a big run afterwards, because when you work out, you are going to increase maybe the little bit of that inflammatory response with the body. So keeping your workout for either before the session or after. It's also really important to stay hydrated. So hydrating well before you come in for your session, because the body is electricity, and the more hydrated you are, the better the body is going to be at uptaking that current into the cells. We have found that a lot of people will say, even after their first treatment, that they sleep really well the night after they have their session. But it goes both ways. Some people may say, like you said, I felt maybe a little tired, and other people say, my gosh, I have more energy than I've had in a long time. So it just depends on your body and how it responds.
As far as like coming in for session, what's the recommendation? And like, I suppose, I know there's different acute, there's more chronic issues. I don't know if you can speak to either one of those, but like, if you see someone, how often can they expect that I'm going to have to come in or something like that?
So we recommend, and this recommendation comes from the manufacturer and from our rep, and we have found it to be tried and true, that you want to do 3 sessions within the first 7 to 10 days. And this is important because it gives that body the initial sort of boost of energy into the cells, and it just really starts that healing process, a really big Kickstarter, as we call it, the jump start. So that's what you're going to expect, is to do 3 sessions within the first 7 to 10 days. And you have the option of doing either a 30-minute session or you can do a 60-minute session. And, we can kind of discuss based on what you're looking to achieve with the session of which would be better. But in general, the 30-minute sessions are great for children because they already have a really great charge to start with, and athletes who are looking for a recovery because they tend to be charged up pretty well to start with.
Right.
But for pretty much everybody else, 60 minutes is going to be what is ideal to be doing session-wise. And acute versus chronic, we find that people who have an injury or an issue that's longer standing, more in the chronic, it will take you more time to get to the place where you are feeling, pain-free or feeling better than you have in a long time. For instance, the lady with the arthritic knees, like for her, it took that 6th session before she started to feel the results. And then she continued to go weekly for, I believe it was about 12 sessions. And then after that, now she just comes in, she's figured out it's like once every 3 weeks, she just comes in for a little bit of a tune-up to keep the body where it is at. And that is the other great thing that with the PEMF, we found that the results that people achieve, they tend to keep. There isn't this big backslide with, I feel really good, but then I go right back to where I started. You just kind of continue to just move down the line and keep the results that you've experienced so far. And that's why I have to, my biggest praise, I sing the praises of PEMF because it has helped me with my tennis elbow that I'd had for, it was about 3 years that I'd been nursing it. And after, I think it was 6 sessions, then I no longer had any pain. And that was last March, I believe, was the last time that I ever pulsed my elbow. And the pain has never returned.
And but you've returned to tennis.
But I've returned to tennis. And I was saying it was a glorious day when I took my little like compression, whatever you call that little compression thing for tendonitis, that I was able to take it out of my tennis bag because I don't need it. And I never, ever, ever thought I would ever get to that point that I wouldn't be just kind of have that pesky coming and going pain.
Huge.
And I have to say, we had the best just this morning, a gentleman that has come in too. He's like a 60s plus individual who he came to PEMF because he's a very active person, but his knees bother him so much, but they're not bad enough to have them replaced yet. So he's in that limbo of they hurt, but I can't get a knee replacement because they're not bad enough, but they're keeping me from doing what I want to do. And so he's been coming in for 60-minute sessions, and we pulse one knee for 30 minutes and pulse the other knee for the other 30 minutes. And he said today that this morning he was able to do squats with weights at a 90-degree angle. He's like, I did 90-degree squats today. And he said, I bet I haven't done that, and it's been at least 5 years that I've been able to do. So not only is he getting to be experiencing less pain, but he's getting to do activities and move in ways that he hasn't been able to do in years. And I just get so excited to know that people are getting quality of life back, not just reducing pain, but quality of life. And that's everything.
That's right. Well, I have a question as a provider, because I think for me, sometimes like I'll refer to PEMF when I see pain, when I see neuropathy and numbness, like something is off with the neurological system. Those are kind of my two, and headaches. Those are my 3 big referrals to you. But I suppose for you, like, what are your kind of like top 3 categories? Like, oh, we got this.
So pain. Absolutely. That's the number one, I would say, reason that we see people and that they get the results from it. But another thing that I think is really important is stress.
Yeah.
Which people wouldn't think of PEMF for stress. Right. But with this electromagnetic current, it helps to regulate the nervous system. So it helps to bring people from that fight or flight and moves the body down into that rest, digest, and repair. And so chicken or the egg, which came first, having a lot of stress, and then eventually the body begins to respond with tightness in the shoulders or tightness in the muscles. Or, you have this tightness and then having that chronic pain then does cause stress. So that's the other thing that I like to help people with. And sometimes when we have people come in and we have these conversations to start with, if they do say anything regarding having a busy life or having busy stress, a stress in their life, I like to have them do just the first 20 minutes of laying on the table to get that whole body pulsed to help with regulating that nervous system. Because again, rest, digest, and repair. And I think that is one of the reasons that bodies respond so well to PEMF is because the nervous system is getting to downregulate and give the body the opportunity to do what it wants to do, which is repair that we don't have access to when we're in that stressed state. So that's one thing that I think is important for people to understand. Another thing that is really fascinating about PEMF, it is FDA approved for post-surgical swelling and edema.
Yeah.
And I think that this is also something that's really great for people who are looking at going into a surgical procedure. One of your clients who came in for just pain, and then was in our conversation had mentioned that they were going to be having a surgical procedure. And so I said, well, if you're here for the pain, let's pulse the body for the pain, but let's also pulse over this area that you are going to be having the procedure for, because PEMF helps to increase the circulation, reduce inflammation, and provide more oxygen and nutrients to the cells in the tissue. And if you're going into a surgical procedure, you want the body to be as set and ready to go and as, reduce as much inflammation as you can. And after the fact, I think we did 4 60-minute sessions for this person leading up to their procedure. And then after the fact, when I saw this person asked, how they were feeling, and they'd said, I think that my speedy recovery from, a fairly invasive procedure went really, really well. And they said, I think that was to the fact that, we had pulsed, or I had pulsed prior to leading up to the procedure.
Sorry.
And we do have people who are waiting for their knee replacements. It's on the books, but they're in so much pain leading up to waiting for the procedure, which they have found reduction in pain. But every time you pulse leading up to it, it's just setting the body up for a better response to in the recovery itself.
Great.
Yeah.
It makes me so excited. It feels like everyone should get PEMF, but I do know there are a few people that should not.
Yes.
Can you kind of share who wouldn't be right for?
Okay, so PEMF is contraindicated for anybody who has implanted electronic devices like a pacemaker or cochlear implants. If the individual is pregnant, it is best that they consult with their physician prior to PEMF. And then also if you have any active bleeding, because it increases the circulation, right? So it just we wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's for everybody.
Is there's anything, we'll wrap up, but is there anything you feel like I missed that you maybe talk about or answer a lot?
Well, one thing that I do think is important for people to understand that PEMF is, new-ish to a lot of people, or maybe they've heard about it online or in a podcast or information such as this, but it is all throughout the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, like all the professional sports teams use PEMF because it speeds up not only recovery from daily workout, it reduces pain, but it speeds up the recovery from injury. And so we do have a lot of young athletes now, like your son who is recovering from an injury, but we also have many other high school athletes who have had a strain or a sprain and they want to get back to playing their sport as quickly as they can. And so we had a gentleman, he's a high-level high school athlete and had a little tweaked his knee a little bit, doing the PT with his trainer, but he came in and just did 3 30-minute sessions and it was gone and he was back to playing. So any young athletes or weekend athletes, I think that you just, this is a no-brainer. So that's something to take into consideration as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yes.
You can find Nicole in our Madison office. Typically Monday through Thursday, she is around. And if it's your first PEMF, you might just see her.
Yes.
So I'd be happy to work with you.